25 years old, 18 wins, 0 losses, 14 of those 18 wins by stoppage, and come Tuesday morning, a top 10 ranking next to his name, Michael Morales just put the entire welterweight division on notice. It's been clear ever since January of 2022, where we saw Michael Morales make his UFC debut, just how high his ceiling truly could be as he started his UFC career with 2 finishes. And fight by fight, all the way from Chevin Giles up to Gilbert Burns this past Saturday at UFC Vegas 106, he has evolved and fought a tougher schedule of competition and passed pretty much all of them with flying colors. And he entered UFC Vegas 106 against Gilbert Burns, coming off of a victory over a perennial top 15 gatekeeper in Neil Magny, where he finished him in the first round last August. But to do what he just did to the former title challenger Gilbert Burns, who has quite literally over the past decade faced the best of the best in both lightweight and especially in his welterweight career, this was an awe-inspiring performance from Michael Morales to dismantle someone as seasoned and battle-tested as Gilbert Burns in less than 4 minutes time at just 25 years of age. I could not be higher on Michael Morales than I am right now. This man will hold the welterweight championship around his waist one day. It's just a matter of when, not if. And I don't throw that phrase out there all that often. Off the top of my head, during the length of this podcast, there's 2 people that I 100% with certainty can say I've said that for. Tom Aspinall, and, well, he's interim right now, might as well be the undisputed, and the other is Natalia Silva, who's coming off of a win over Alexa Grasso at UFC 315 and is now number 1 in the world at 125 pounds. And third on the list now is Michael Morales, and again, at just 25, going to be in the top 10 come Tuesday morning. He could just be 1 win away from a championship fight. The problem is the welterweight division is absolutely bonkers right now. Dare I say, the best that it has ever been in its history. We know that Jack Della Maddalena is the new welterweight champion after dethroning Belal Muhammad in the main event of UFC 315 and one of the best fights of the year thus far. And as of last week, Dana White announced that Islam Makhachev will officially vacate his lightweight title in order to move up to 170 pounds and try to become a double champ, even though he won't technically have 2 belts at the same time. So, 2-weight world champion Islam Makhachev, but it's a tall task for him to come up 15 pounds and to take on someone as legit and as elite as Jack Della Maddalena proved to be at UFC 315. And due to Islam coming up from lightweight, that puts a bit of a halt to the rest of the moving pieces in the welterweight division. Some guys that probably didn't need to fight one more time are likely going to have to now. So, let's matchmake the top 10 of the welterweight division. Jack Della Maddalena defending his championship against Islam Makhachev. That part is easy, but then it gets fun. In the aftermath of UFC 315, I called for Belal Muhammad, coming off of his loss to Jack Della, to take on Ian Machado Gary, who weighed in at UFC 315 as the backup fighter in the event that JDM or Belal had to be pulled from the fight. So since Ian Machado Gary was already willing to face Belal Muhammad, why not match him up and just make it a main event of a fight night or a featured bout on a big pay-per-view card and have him fight now regardless? Then we come across the 2 guys that, in my opinion, shouldn't have to fight anyone else, but unfortunately with the circumstances, probably will, so make them fight each other. Sean Brady and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Brady coming off of a win over the former champion Leon Edwards in March, where he destroyed him en route to a 4th-round submission, and Shavkat Rakhmonov is, I believe, 18-0 with 17 finishes. The only victory that wasn't a finish was his win over Ian Machado Gary, who just weighed in as the backup fighter, and Shavkat was supposed to fight at UFC 315 before he had to be pulled due to a knee injury. Then we already have an official fight booking between Kamaru Usman at number 5 and Joaquin Buckley at number 7. They're main eventing UFC Atlanta on June 14th. Which leaves one name, Leon Rocky Edwards, the former champion with multiple title defenses under his belt, coming off of a loss to Sean Brady, sitting at number 4 currently. That is who Michael Morales should face in his next fight once he breaks into the top 10 come Tuesday morning after his win over Gilbert Burns. And if he beats Leon Edwards, he will move from elite to title contender. That is how I would matchmake the top 10 at 170 pounds. But do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments below. Now let's hop into the rest of the card where there weren't a lot of big names or big storylines or big stakes. However, there were some fun fights and some very fun finishes, so let's run through the list and give people the shine where they deserve it. The 28-year-old Melquizael Costa is on the biggest run of his UFC career so far. 4 fights in a row, all victorious, and 3 of them in 2025, and it's only the middle of May. This man, Costa, is chasing down the insane 2020 year that Kevin Holland had, where he had 5 fights and 5 victories. And being that it's only May, and there's still 6.5-7 months to go in the year, Costa is well ahead of schedule. He got this victory at UFC Vegas 106 over another surging outside of the top 15 looking in featherweight Julian Erosa. And I believe now on this 4-fight win streak, 3-0 in 2025, a victory over Juicy J Julian Erosa, a victory over Christian Rodriguez, finishes of Andre Fili, he deserves a top 15 featherweight in his next fight. Well, there's 2 names that immediately jump off the page to me. One is the number 14 ranked featherweight in the world, Dan 50K Ige, and the other is top 10 ranked featherweight former interim title challenger Josh Emmett. Now, while the fight with Dan Ige probably makes more sense because it's not as big of a leap into the rankings from an outside perspective, I don't necessarily think that Dan Ige should have to fight a second consecutive outside of the top 15 featherweight, as that is what he just awarded the opportunity to Sean Woodson for, and he knocked him out in the 3rd round. Maybe a little bit early, but he was winning the fight on the scorecards regardless. So that leads me to Josh Emmett. So can Melquizael Costa jump all the way in there with a number 10 ranked former interim title challenger coming off of a loss to the undefeated Lerone Murphy? Well, it makes all the sense to me. The 32-year-old Gabe Green ended his 2-fight skid by finishing Matheus Camilo via 2nd-round submission. He's now 12-5 with 11 of those 12 wins by way of stoppage, and 3-3 in his 6 UFC fights dating back to May of 2020. At 36 years old, Jared Flash Gordon has won 2 of his last 3 bouts as he had a vicious knockout against Thiago Moises at UFC Vegas 106, and it took just 3.5 minutes to do so. And if you take away the very controversial loss to Paddy Pimblett in December of 2022 and turn that into a victory like he probably should have gotten, he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, not counting the no contest to Bobby Green where they had a bad clash of heads. Gordon is right there on the outside looking in the top 15 of the lightweight division, but the problem is just how stacked and dangerous that lightweight division is right now. 2024 Dana White Contender Series alum Yadier Delvel out of Cuba made his UFC debut against Conor Matheus and submitted him in the 1st round 2 minutes and 54 seconds in. He is just 28 years old, getting ready to enter those prime years, and 9-0 with 5 finishes to his name in the featherweight division. Luana Santos bounced back from her August 2024 loss to Casey O'Neill with a submission over Tainara Lisboa with a key lock in the 2nd round with 1 second to go. And she's now 4-1 in the UFC, 9-2 overall with 6 finishes to her name, 5 of those 6 by way of submission, and she's only 25 years young. A very bright future ahead for Luana Santos in my opinion, and the most fun of all the 3 women's weight classes, women's flyweight. Although now that I'm looking at it, this fight happened at 135 pounds, so if Luana's entering the bantamweight division, that's even better for her in my opinion, because that division needs contenders desperately. Denise Gomes picked up her 5th UFC victory and 3rd in a row as she knocked out Elise Reed in the 2nd round just 30 seconds in. And much like Luana Santos, she is also just 25 years old, 11-3 overall with 7 of those 11 coming by way of knockout. Denise Gomes will be taking on a ranked strawweight in her next bout. As a matter of fact, she can just take on the number 13 ranked Tecia Pennington, who also fought on this very same card. That was easy. Hyunsung Park improved to 3-0 in the UFC and 10-0 overall at just 29 years old. 9 of those 10 wins that he has are by way of stoppage. This one against Carlos Hernandez was a 1st-round submission via rear naked choke, 2 minutes and 26 seconds in. And Mr. Peace of Mind, hailing from South Korea, has a very bright future ahead of him in the flyweight division, especially as he nears his prime years. This is someone to watch out for at 125 pounds. And we'll finish off by talking about the aforementioned Tecia Pennington, who, although didn't get a finish like the other 6 people we talked about, did get a unanimous decision win over Luana Pinheiro, the 4th person in a row to defeat the Dana White Contender Series alum Luana. That is not a good sign for the potential future of her UFC career, or lack thereof. But for Tecia, at 35 years old, picks up a 2nd consecutive win as she bounced back from a 2-fight skid and beat Carla Esparza, the former champion, last October at UFC 307. 2 wins in a row, and as I said, she should be taking on Denise Gomes next. So that is it for the UFC Vegas 106 recap. Please be sure to let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this card and your biggest takeaways as well, especially in that welterweight main event where we saw Michael Morales remain undefeated by taking out the veteran Gilbert Burns. Do you think he should take on Leon Rocky Edwards next, or do you have another name in mind? If you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new as we continue to chase the goal of 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2025. Alongside recaps every week of the most meaningful results from each card, I also break down and preview the biggest and best fights from a storyline perspective and what's at stake, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA. And you can follow on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple, where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes are released there. Have a great week, and I will see you all in the next video.